Devonta Smith, your expectations. I think it was 78 catches, a little bit over 900 yards. You're still seeing his progression and him evolving into being maybe potentially one of the better guys you've seen go through this program?
Oh, absolutely. He is special. He is really, really special. It's not just the catches he makes, it's how he makes them. I haven't seen a young player with better toe-tapping ability than Devonta Smith. He makes catches that you think are impossible. He is a great talent. He has all-pro written all over him, Dan. He's very, very special. They didn't miss on him a bit. I think he can have a great career.
Welcome back, National Football Show. So yesterday we had one of the GOATs of the Eagles all time. We had Jaws on with us, Ron Jaworski. And Jaws, of course, one of the legendary players. 17 years he played in the National Football League, too. Obviously, one of the GOATs in Philadelphia sports lore is Ron Jaworski. Went to the first Super Bowl back in the day with Dick Vermeil. You could see, too, Ron getting all emotional when we were talking about Dick Vermeil and him getting his opportunity to finally put on one of those gold jackets. And I can't wait to see Jaws this summer in Canton. And I'm wondering if Merrill will be there. Can you imagine having a play-by-play guy that probably goes all the way back to those teams, and he has covered every single game and been involved in every single conversation every offseason and during the year? You talk about one of the truly legendary GOATs when it comes to play-by-play guys. Our dear friend Merrill Reese joins us right now here on the National Football Show. Please hit the like button. And guys, Merrill,
Hi.
You covered Jaworski, didn't you?
Oh, Ron, I did, absolutely. From the day Ron arrived in a trade for Charles Young.
Holy, talk about where that team was, Merrill, and how much Dick Vermeil. You must be thrilled to death to see Dick Vermeil going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, from where that team came from, he came in and it was a complete rebuild. We all know the story and everything and what he did. If you watched Invincible, you saw it. Just give me a perspective on the job you think Dick did for that football team, which eventually ended up being an NFC championship team.
Yeah, he did an amazing job, Dan. He really did. It was a team that was losing season after season, and he came in and he rebuilt the team. I mean, he made the move. Ron Jaworski came in. He brought in Wilbert Montgomery, who was a 6th-round draft choice. He took Harold Carmichael, who had struggled before that, and made him an all-pro wide receiver and a Hall of Famer, as we know. He just totally revitalized not only the team, but the city. He was the best. When people ask me about the best coach of all time that I've been around, now there have been some very good ones. There is nothing you can say about Andy Reid that isn't totally positive. I mean, he got this team to a Super Bowl. Doug Pederson did it in record time. But to me, the greatest coach I've ever been around is Dick Vermeil.
Merrill, I'm going to ask you the hardest question maybe anyone's ever asked you. What's your favorite year you covered the Eagles?
Oh, that's easy. That is easy. 2017.
Why?
They won the Super Bowl.
Jeez, Dan.
The Super Bowl. That was the one. What could be better than that?
You know, and Merrill, for a city, to me, it reminded me a little bit of the Cubs won the World Series, where, Merrill, I mean, a city had been starving since, the Bednarik days when they won the championship with Tommy McDonald. And then for them to win that thing in 17, that must have just been just a magical season for you, just to cover the team, know the story and the storied history of the team and how that thing finished and how they were and you beat the dynasty of the dynasties in NFL history. That story just must have been awesome to cover from September all the way through to February.
Well, it was, and the Patriots were on the ropes in the AFC playoffs against Jacksonville. And they were down and came all the way back. And a lot of people were standing around the television watching it, and they were hoping that Jacksonville would pull it out, finish the game and win, because they wanted the Eagles to have an easier. They figured that the Eagles would have a better chance against Jacksonville than they would against the mighty Patriots. I didn't feel that way, Dan. I wanted the Patriots. When the Eagles would finally win a Super Bowl, I wanted it to be not because they beat a team that happened to somehow find a way in there, a Cinderella team, but the team that was considered the dynasty. That's what I wanted. That's what we got, and that's what they did.
Merrill, I said the greatest Super Bowl moment in history from a coach to a player. Here, and I'm going to paraphrase this here for you. How about the Philly special? All right, let's run it. Go ahead. I mean, that moment there for those guys to do that. I mean, that's coaching. That's not the numbers. That's not taking all the guys upstairs and plugging things in to see if this works. How about the Philly special? Go ahead. Let's do it. I mean, that was such a classic moment. I'll never forget that moment in NFL history.
Well, I'll never forget it either, Dan, because right before it happened, I'm up in the booth in Minnesota, and I'm saying to my color analyst, Mike Quick, they've got to take the 3 points here. They are down at the 1 yard line. They have one shot. They're going to be kicking off to the Patriots to start the second half. They've got to take the 3 points. And then they bring out go into the formation, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is a disaster. And of course, they score on the play with the pass going from Trey Burton to Nick Foles. And Mike Quick looks over at me and says, that's why Doug's down there and you're up here.
Man, that's awesome, man.
And you know what? And I kidded Doug. Doug was such a great guy. Is such a great guy. I kidded Doug the following week. I told him what I said, and I told him I still think it was the wrong call, but it worked.
That's a beautiful moment, man. All right, let's get into the today Eagles. Merrill, obviously the 2022 season is going to be Jalen Hurts' year to be the quarterback of this Eagle team. Do you think that the front office and people are doing enough to give him enough help to get the best out of Jalen Hurts?
Well, I think they are, and I think that's their intention, and I think that will be exhibited in how they draft this coming April 28th. I think it's very important. I think I really feel pretty good about this, Dan. I look there. I think the number one pick, which is now it's 15. Whether they move up, we'll see. But I think they've got to go after a defensive difference maker. That's what this team needs most. Somebody who is disruptive at the line of scrimmage. Whether they can get a Jordan Davis or, who knows who they can get. There's also guys like Hamilton, who is Kyle Hamilton. There are a lot of people who could fit into that category. But they've got to get a defensive difference maker. But then they still have the 18th pick, even though they traded away the 19th and the 16th. But I think in that spot, there are enough good wide receivers that they can really help Jalen Hurts. I mean, there are a couple that there are at least 4 or 5, Dan, who are really, really good. One that I like so much is because he's different than your normal wide receiver. I want a big receiver. I like somebody like Treylon Burks from Arkansas. I think he is a terrific receiver. But people talk about Drake London from Southern Cal. He's a big receiver. And if you don't go big wide receiver, there are guys like the 2 Ohio Staters, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and there's the Penn Stater, Johan Dotson. There is enough talent there that if you have one of them flanked to the opposite side of Devonta Smith, that immediately helps Jalen Hurts.
You agree then that, and I'm starting to go down this line as well. You believe that with a premium pick, and I mean the first 3 rounds, the Eagles take a wide receiver to try to enter the huddle, because right now you've got 2 rookie players on rookie contracts in Quez Watkins and Devonta Smith. You bring in Zach Pascal as your number 3 guy. There's a connection between Nick, obviously, with his time in Indianapolis. So you're going to bring in another guy, another big body guy. And I agree with you. Treylon Burks reminds me a little bit of Deebo Samuel in San Francisco because here's the deal, Merrill. You're a running football team. You like to run the ball 30 times a football game. And here's a guy who's going to put his helmet on somebody like a safety or a free safety, strong safety, a linebacker in your run game. So this is going to be a guy you're sold that they're going to take a wide out in one of these premium picks.
Well, you say I'm sold. I never know what they're doing, but if I were making the decision, this is what I would do, and I think you have to give them a lot of credit. I thought last year's draft would in my opinion would grade an A when you can pick somebody like Devonta Smith in the first round and he's tremendous, and then get somebody like Landon Dickerson in the second round who ended up as a quality starter because of injury, but he's a starting tackle or guard or whatever you want him to be. He's a terrific football player. And in the third round, they got a defensive tackle of Milton Williams who fit into the rotation. And in the fourth round, they got Kenneth Gainwell, who turned out to be very good also and was playing a significant role from the first game on. So, I think they had, and there's guys also who didn't play much last year, but who could turn out to be good players this year. But I think it was a great draft. And if they follow last year's draft with a similarly productive draft this year, they're going to be a good team.
What'd you make of the trade, Merrill? I saw your tweet and I thought you thought, from paraphrasing, and I don't mean to speak for you here, but by intentions of what I looked at it, I thought you thought it was a positive.
Oh, I did. Because they didn't lose that much. I mean, they go.
No, they added a 1 and a 2, Merrill. I mean, they added another 1 and a 2 to their treasure chest. So I would assume you would think that's good.
But in the first round, they gave up 16 and 19 for 18. But they end up with the 1 and the 2 next year. Then there were a few other deals involved, trade picks involved. But the big thing is, I think it protects them. I think it gives them an opportunity. I'm a believer in Jalen Hurts, and I think he's going to be very, very good. But if he does not meet their expectations, if they feel, and they're giving him every chance after this year, that he is not the quarterback of the future, they will have at least 2 first-round picks next year as ammunition to take a shot at somebody like, say, C.J. Stroud.
What do you make of them bringing in Matt Corral from Ole Miss this week?
I like Matt Corral. Of all the quarterbacks, he's the one I really like. But I don't see them going quarterback this year. This is Jalen Hurts' team, and I think they have too many other needs to take a flyer this year on another quarterback.
So it's probably just them doing their due diligence. Is that right? You probably think they want to talk to the kid. They don't. I mean, you're not doing your job, right, Merrill, if you're not talking to every position. And again, like you said, I mean, Jaws said it yesterday too, Merrill. He really likes Jalen, but he said that he needs to see more because, again, the ownership wants to have an open offense. And you know what, Merrill? I threw this out there too, and I'm going to throw it to you. Maybe I don't know if you probably do. Of course you do. You're an almanac when it comes to your Eagles. But I told Barrett Brooks this. The Eagles have never had a 100-yard or 100-catch wide receiver in their history, and they've had one 4,000-yard passing quarterback. So there's going to have to be, Merrill, and I'm talking wide receiver. I know Hurts had 100 catches, 116 catches. I'm talking wide receiver that they've never had a guy with a 100-catch season. So there's got to be a transformation in the style of play if Jeffrey Lurie wants to have a wide-open offense. So that's probably why Jaws is saying that. And you know what's funny else too, Merrill? Jaws said that if he was quarterbacking in today's game because of the way the rules are set up, he would never run the ball. He would throw the ball like it was the Arena League because the rules dictate that today. And so my thought process was, I think the Eagle offense has to just catch up with the modern times NFL, and they have to be more balanced. Is that a fair statement?
I think balanced is a good word, Dan. But I don't think it matters if you're a run-heavy offense or a pass-heavy offense. I mean, both can work. You know what? Somebody's going to come out and win a Super Bowl by running the football, and then 31 other teams will start picking up the running games, and suddenly running backs will start getting more value. Everything is cyclical. whatever works. I mean, look, the Pittsburgh Steelers have succeeded for years as being a run-first team. I mean, they've fallen off a little in the last few years, but during their glory days, not that far, not years and years ago, but in the last decade, they've had some pretty good teams running the football. So it's whatever works. I'm not opposed to running the ball, setting up the pass with the run rather than vice versa. But Ron's a quarterback, and every quarterback would rather throw first.
Absolutely. Devonta Smith, your expectations. I think it was 78 catches, a little bit over 900 yards. You're still seeing his progression and him evolving into being maybe potentially one of the better guys you've seen go through this program?
Oh, absolutely. He is special. He is really, really special. It's not just the catches he makes, it's how he makes them. I haven't seen a young player with better toe-tapping ability than Devonta Smith. He makes catches that you think are impossible. He is a great talent. He has all-pro written all over him, Dan. He's very, very special. They didn't miss on him a bit. I think he can have a great career.
Your expectations on Nick Sirianni this coming year. Look, when you take a football team to the postseason and you have a winning year in your first year as a head coach, that's a dynamite year for a first coach because, as you know, Merrill, when a new coach comes into the room, here's what veterans do. And I'm just gonna play it. Okay, let's see if this guy even knows what the hell he's talking about. This guy's never worn the main headset. I don't know if this guy, how can I trust him? I don't know who he is. But after the 2-5 start, you and I have talked about this, he really had a great year. What does he have to do? What do you want to see from Nick Sirianni going into his second year as a head coach?
Well, the thing about Nick Sirianni that stands out, that it was the way he connected with his players this year. I mean, he really, you can feel that. You can feel that. You can feel the way he communicates. He communicates well. And even when things were going badly early in the season, he didn't panic. You sometimes see it when coaches get testy with the media. He never jumped over anybody. He loves the game. You can feel his passion for football. And you can feel the way everybody in that building reacts to Nick Sirianni. He sets the proper culture, and the players like him. He's a leader. I knew nothing about Nick Sirianni. I mean, when I heard that he was a candidate, my first inclination was to say who, and then get a Colts media guide and look and see where he came from. But he did a very good job. And I think Nick Sirianni would be the first to admit that he learned a lot last year. As the year went on, the experience benefited him. And he's a bright guy, and he's a communicative guy. You know, when you talk about head coaches, I think head coaches are different than any other type of coach. In football, head coach is different. I don't think the word genius has to pertain to a head coach. I mean, yes, it does on certain head coaches over the years. People like Bill Walsh and Belichick was a defensive genius. But I think that's important with your coordinators, that they have this great scheme in their mind that they work on, or they come out with something brand new, like a fire zone blitz or some other scheme that's new, a West Coast offense, which actually was invented not by Bill Walsh, but taught to him by Sid Gilman. But I think the big thing with a head coach is leadership. He's got to be strong. He's got to be a great communicator. He has I one of the most brilliant coaches I have ever been around in my 102 seasons was Bud Carson. Bud Carson was brilliant. I mean, he looked like a university English lit professor, but he looked like the kind of guy who you send him to a lab and he'd come up with some amazing defense. That's what he was. But Bud Carson in Buffalo, in Cleveland, was never a success as a head coach. In fact, I really believe that there should be a category in the Hall of Fame for defensive coordinators. Buddy Ryan. Buddy Ryan was a great defensive coordinator. He was a good
Jimmy Johnson.
Well, Jim Johnson. Jim Johnson was a brilliant defensive coordinator. These guys, you could make a big case for them to go to the Hall of Fame. But the head coach has to be a leader. He has to have a certain kind of personality. And we could see it. Doug Pederson had that. He won over this team. He led this team. And I think Nick Sirianni has that.
Does Doug Pederson win a Super Bowl in Jacksonville?
Boy, that's a tough question to answer without knowing all the machinations of the whole organization. There's more than the head coach.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of organizational interaction that has to take place. Let me tell you this. I'll go this far as to say that he is my preseason prediction as the coach who will win Coach of the Year over in the AFC. I'll make him the Coach of the Year over in the AFC because he's going to do wonders for Trevor Lawrence. And this team has picked up some big pieces in the offseason, and they will benefit from Doug Pederson. There is no doubt in my mind. He knows the pro game.
Hang on here, Merrill. You're probably going to have to go over to Angelo's show tomorrow, and you're probably going to have to justify this one like the Bills comment. You're probably that Doug Pederson's going to win the AFC Coach of the. I'd love to see that. I admire him. I know him. He is a player's coach for sure. So, hey, finally here, okay? Let me ask you this. What does Merrill Reese do in the offseason? Is this all about recharging and studying, getting yourself right? I mean, it's a grind a little bit. And by the way, are you going to be traveling this year with the team because of all the restriction and COVID's being pulled? Are you going to be back traveling with the team?
I haven't heard anything definitive, but all signs point to that. Yes, all points are that things are going to be back to what they were. And I hope so. I'd like to go on the road and see the away games as opposed to sitting at the link and watching television. So I would think except if we could do one away game remotely, it would be Washington, because going into that dump is the worst. We can't see anything. if I could do and all the home games and one road game, that would make me very, very happy. So
don't send me to that dump. I love it, Merrill. Thank you so much, Merrill. You are the best, and you are our friend. And thank you again for doing this. Thank you, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
See you, Dan.
You got it. Oh, FedEx is a dump. I got to take a timeout now. Okay, let me take a timeout. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.